like addiction is fascinating in the sense that I approach it with like my favorite question about addiction. Like, don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain. And so I'm not really talking to you as an addict. I'm talking to you as a person with a lot of pain, and your addiction is your solution. So and maybe that's naive, maybe that's whatever, but I don't see affairs or addiction as the problem. I see affairs and addiction as the solution to the problem. So I would want to talk to you about, why do you want to hide? Why do you want to numb? What is the root cause of the pain that you're trying to escape from? And like deal with you from that lens and not from the lens of like the shame of addiction.
Welcome to the 1000 Day Sober podcast. I am your host, Lee Davy. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who lives a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck, and I spend every waking moment of that life helping other people do the same, like right now. Today, we are talking to Danica Eakman. Danica is a sound bath practitioner and a reiki master who studied under one of the leaders in the sound healing realm in Los Angeles, Geraldine Glass. And Danica wants to share this profound form of healing with everybody who is open to receiving it. And that last sentence is really interesting. So I'm going to say it again. Danica wants to share this profound form of healing with everyone who is open to receiving it. Because when I was unconscious, even when I was alcohol free as fuck, if someone said to me, hey, do you want to come along to a church and have a sound bath? I would have thought they were a bit doolally, right? So not everybody is open to these type of things. Not everybody is willing to try them. And that in itself is a mirror, right? It begs the question, why? What is the problem here? What am I so afraid will happen if I go and experience a sound bath? And a lot of times it comes from this need for approval, this need to remain closely knit to your tribe. And maybe your tribe aren't a tribe who go and have sound baths or who take Reiki healing, right? So it feels really uncomfortable. So my challenge to you today is to listen to what Danica's got to say. And then afterwards, do a bit of Googling, do a bit of research, and find out where your nearest sound bath is, and just go along and experience it. Don't have any expectations. Don't feel any judgments, or feel them, but just get through them. Go and experience it, because it is a really beautiful experience. I don't think anybody can go into a sound bath and come out and go, oh my God, I didn't get anything out of that, right? We all know that music is calming to the soul. We all love music. We all love sounds. So go check it out, okay? All right, so without further ado, I'll shut the hell up and leave you in the capable hands of the incredibly talented and the wonderful Danica Eakman. Hey, Danica, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, man. What part of the world do you hail from?
Seattle.
And what time is it in Seattle right now?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Same as me.
Yes.
Coming through.
Amazing.
Coming from LA. What is a sound bath? So there'll be a lot of people listening to this and they won't probably have a clue what a sound bath is. What is a sound bath?
Yes. A sound bath is a passive form of healing. So basically no water is involved. A lot of people get a little bit confused about that. But basically a client comes in, I have prepared a beautiful space for them to lie down and relax, and they are bathed in the sounds of the bowls. The bowls play these beautiful different frequencies that really help with stress, anxiety, depression. It really helps to just kind of recenter yourself or regulate your nervous system and unlock your mind from your conscious to your subconscious and give that a bit of healing, things you don't really want to think about or talk about, maybe in something like a talk therapy. This can kind of go in and give that a little bit of ease.
And how long do you typically immerse somebody in a sound bath for?
I love 60 minutes. I do offer 30-minute sessions as well, just for somebody who this is their first session or they're not really sure or they're feeling a little nervous about it, I do offer 30-minute sessions as well. And that's typically good, like I said, for someone who's a little bit nervous, but also for a lot of my friends bring their kids in to come see me. And their attention span can't stand it for much longer than 30 minutes. So
Are you speaking to them during this time, or are you just actually just making the sounds with the bowls?
yes, I kind of give a little bit of an explanation of sound baths in the beginning. And then I think like, who am I to talk? Like the bulls are the ones doing the magic, like let me not get in the way of their beautiful mystical ways. So no, I'm quiet until the end of the session. I have a little koshi chime and I use that and then I call them back with my voice at the end of the session.
I was doing some research from the show, and I was watching some of your videos, and I was thinking, wow, this is something that I want to get involved in.
Have
I
you
want to
never had a
learn
spa?
more. I have, yeah, yeah. But I've never, not until I knew I was going to interview you, did I, what it's like, you change, don't you? So I've been in sound baths before and I've really enjoyed them, but I've never thought, oh, I would like to kind of get into this myself. What is your story? How did you, go from being like me to being a practitioner of sound baths?
Yes. So this was about 8 years ago now, 7 years ago now. Um, my then husband and I were going through IVF, and um, for those of you who aren't familiar with IVF, you're jabbing yourself with a bunch of needles multiple times a day, and you're like pumping your body full of hormones that aren't your own. And I'm very lucky. I had never really experienced anxiety before that. But of course, I had always heard about my friends saying, I'm so anxious. I have such bad anxiety. And I could never truly relate or really empathize with them because I had just never really understood what that felt like or what that was like. And so when I found myself with all of this anxiety that was so debilitating, I was trying everything. I was doing acupuncture, I was going to talk therapy, I was working with a dietitian, I was like doing anything I could think of to try to like help combat the anxiety. And a friend of mine invited us over to do yoga at his house. And after, he said, oh, come upstairs, I'll show you these bowls. Sure, that sounds great. And within like 2-3 seconds, I felt like, I don't know, have you ever had really bad anxiety?
No, really, no.
Yeah. Well, it's like this feeling like you can't really like get a very good deep breath. Like
Hmm.
everything feels very shallow. And it was like in literally 2 or 3 seconds, I could take a deep breath and like feel like myself again. And I just said like, oh my gosh, I have to do this with everyone like struggling with fertility and anxiety because this it helps. Like this is the thing. Like I've been searching for this thing. And so after that, I found some teachers down in LA and I took my courses and I bought my bowls and I was off to the races with my little business.
It's so funny that you said you learned something that was quite empowering and quite amazing for you and life changing for you. And your first instinct was, I need to help other people do this. It's the same when I stopped drinking alcohol. Like the way that I stopped by suddenly realizing after 20 years of drinking this stuff that, oh, actually, this stuff gives me no value, and all the value that I think it's giving me, I no longer believe it gives to me anymore. I need to tell everybody. I need to tell everybody. So was that your focus, and is that still your focus for fertility treatment? Are people struggling to have a baby?
Not, it's funny, like you start something and you think like, this is the vision and this is
Yeah.
how it's going to go. And like, I really want to, like, my heart is here and this is how I want to help. And then what is that saying? Like, tell God your plans and he'll laugh. And so it's like, I started just playing my bowls on my Instagram story. And a girlfriend of mine from college, my sorority sister, said, hey, can I book you for my work? And I was like, sure, where do you work? And she works at Amazon. And so Amazon was my first client. And it's just grown and grown and grown. And I work with like different teams at Amazon all over the world. Um, and so personally, I've had friends that have struggled with fertility or surrogacy or adoption, and they come to me during that time just because it is a very anxiety ridden, depressing time. Um, But no, like kind of like what my vision was for my business was not what it has become at all, which is great and fine, like totally okay with me.
How would a sound bath help? Like, if you think about me, for example, like I was getting to the point where I was drinking every day. My marriage is falling apart. I'm drinking actually not because my marriage is falling apart, but because everybody drinks, and that's just what we did back then. But it was like every single day. If I came to you, what would happen to me? Like, what benefits would I get? How would it change my relationship with alcohol or my relationship with myself? What would go on there, Danica?
I'm so excited that you asked me that question because um, I think addiction is fascinating in the sense that I approach it in with like my favorite question about addiction, like don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain. And so I'm not really talking to you as an addict, I'm talking to you as a person with a lot of pain, and your addiction is your solution. So and maybe that's naive, maybe that's whatever, but I don't see affairs or addiction as the problem. I see affairs and addiction as the solution to the problem. So I would want to talk to you about, why do you want to hide? Why do you want to numb? What is the root cause of the pain that you're trying to escape from? And like deal with you from that lens and not from the lens of like the shame of addiction.
So how does the music help? How does the sound therapy? So if I came in and had a sound bath, how am I going to leave differently?
Yeah.
Like how do you get the skeptics to go through the door? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of a wonderful part about my work at Amazon, because it's kind of this work imposed self-care ritual that a lot of people wouldn't really probably seek out otherwise. But I've coined this term, like leaving the building. So like you come in and you lie down and you're kind of, still in your mind, still in your body, still like in the physical space. And I usually typically about, depending on who the client is and how familiar they are with sound baths, is how fast they kind of like leave the building. So like their body is physically present, but I can kind of tell like there is this levity, there's this light, there is this, like I feel like they're up in the cosmos, like their spirit has left the building. And then you can always tell at the end of the sound bath, when I do my little koshi chime, you wake up into this like kind of foggy state. So scientifically speaking, what happens is you go into the theta brainwave state. And the theta brainwave state is the state that you're in during like a deep REM sleep. So that's why you can slip into your subconscious. That's why you can give yourself all of this like really beautiful, beneficial healing. But your body and your mind is so relaxed that you can kind of like open that door and access this part of you that you don't really access like on a regular Tuesday afternoon or something,
One of the things I noticed with myself when I was drinking, and even today, is I'm only going to drink when I'm triggered to drink, or I'm in that automatic robot unconscious state of this is what I do. I mean, because I'm not in that anymore because I'm drunk for 17 years.
Congratulations.
So, but I still get triggered like all the time. Like just being here, like I said, with two people with jet lag, keeping you awake
You're
all
human.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I often find when I'm triggered is when I'm the hare. So I use this the metaphor of the hare and the rabbit. So usually when I'm working with people, they have a thought, I need to drink alcohol, and they drink it straight away, right? Because they're in this hare energy. Like they don't give themselves space and time. And it feels like to me, the sound bath, from my experience of having it and watching the work that you do, that the sound bath is almost like a practice for somebody who is like 100 miles an hour, largely unconscious. They're just up in their head. They're not in their body. And you give them this opportunity, a 60 minutes of actually slowing the fuck down, really trying to get out of their head into their body and just experience stillness.
Mhm.
Could you just expand upon that a little bit more?
Yes. So this is something that I've been working on in therapy quite a lot in the past few years. And basically, what you're talking about is impulse control. And so the phrase that I love to think about when I'm feeling impulsive is practice the pause. So if you can allow yourself, like if you get that trigger and you head right to the alcohol, if you can practice in that exact moment, practicing the pause and saying, like, okay, I'm aware, I'm conscious enough to say, this is my impulse wanting to soothe my discomfort. If I can practice the pause and sit in here for any amount of time and just say, hey, I'm feeling very uncomfortable. I'm feeling very triggered. I'm feeling very whatever the word. And let me just like sit with that and not rush impulsively to the solution and just let me like be with that. Let me like sit in it and just really be there. And that's kind of what I do in my sound baths is like, I always ask in the beginning, like, what is your intention of being here? Like, what is it that you want to work on? What is it that you want to bring healing to? And so we can, for an hour, like sit with that in a totally kind of like subconscious, unconscious way and try to give yourself that pause. Maybe you can come up with better solutions for when you are in that like triggered state. We talk, of course, before the session and after the session about what's going on with them and what they want to work on or what brought them to the sound bath in the first place. But I think I just wish that that was something that everybody had the awareness of, like practicing the pause and impulse control, because I think we would all keep ourselves out of a lot of trouble if we could do a much better job of realizing, like, what are my impulses? When am I triggered? What is this unhealthy behavior that I do? And if I could really sit in it and practice the pause, how could my life be different?
Yeah, I just thinking of all the different conversations I've had with clients over the years. It's like explaining that to them, and then them going, "Oh, cool, okay," and then they go away, and then they come back the next day. It's like, "How was you yesterday?" "Ah, I drank." "Why?" "Well, the trigger came up, and I just before you knew it, I was drinking." Right? Like so intellectually, you get it, right? I need a pause between
Yeah.
stimulus and response, like really important. But your body's not used to it, right?
Yeah.
But you take them into a 60-minute experience where they can't drink.
Mhm.
They have to sit with their shit. So here in one respect, they're saying, I can't give myself a 10-minute pause. You're
Yeah.
providing a 60 second,
Yeah.
a 60-minute pause.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a sound bath would be a good tool for people to practice being calm.
Yeah.
Do you get people sitting there who are just completely in their head for 60 minutes?
Oh gosh, yes. And I love the type A clients who come in and they're like, okay, what do I do? And you're like, okay, so glad you're here. This is going to be great for you. But I always say for people who really have a hard time shutting their mind off and they just kind of are uncomfortable and tossing and turning. And it's kind of like anything, any practice. Like think of a yoga practice. The first time you go to yoga, you're like, a little stiff, a little clunky. But the more you do yoga, the more you kind of get into your body, you get out of your mind, you get into your flow state. Same thing with the sound bath. And I've seen it where people cannot shut their mind off, cannot be in the stillness. It's so uncomfortable for them. We all have moments like that in our lives. Um, but the more you continue with the sound bath practice, the faster you can kind of shut your mind off, the faster you can get into that theta brainwave state. It's just like allowing yourself. I always say, like, in the beginning of a sound bath, like, let's scan our body and see where we like consciously or subconsciously tend to hold tension. Because I don't think we are even like aware of like how tight and tense we are like throughout the day, every day. And so I just think like for a lot of people, being in the stillness and being in the quiet and really practicing that pause of like, who am I? What am I doing? What's going on with my life? How am I sabotaging myself? Is so uncomfortable. Like nobody wants to look at themselves and say like, how do I suck? What do I need to like work on? That's not an inherent go-to, I think, for especially adults. Like We like to think we got it together, but I just don't think anything could be more valuable than to compassionately like sit with yourself and be honest and humble enough to say, like, where am I fucking up? And like, where could I do better? And like having a safe space to do that with like someone who is there with you, like genuinely wanting you to be successful in that. Like, I think that's a very powerful gift that a sound bath could give anyone.
If you are a long-time listener to the 1000 Days Sober podcast, then I am imagining that somewhere along your life, you've had a little battle or two with alcohol, okay? So just for you, I have created a free workshop. It's called Why Alcohol Has a Hold on You, and it will be revelatory to you. It will really help you to see alcohol in a very different light, especially the problems you have with it. So if you're interested in taking that free workshop, email me at thestrivemethod@gmail.com and I'll hook you up. Okay, right back to Danica Eakman. It sounds like trust. The word trust comes up for me when I'm listening to you. It's like if I was to, I'm thinking of my the years where I was super type A. You know, I probably would go into a sound bath very skeptical, very like, what is this going to do for me? And so for me, in being in that space, there needs to be trust in the process, right? So then that leads me to think of like, there's almost like two ways you can look at sound bath. There's like, I'm looking for Christmas gifts for my wife at the moment. One Christmas gift could be, I'm going to gift you a sound bath and she would have a beautiful experience. But then there's the other side of it, which is like, you're really struggling with alcohol addiction. And now sound bath is different for me. It's like, this is your therapy. Like this is your healing. This is a tool for you to learn to manage your nervous system. Like there's two different things there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, and beautiful for you guys to go together and like have this like kind of beautiful together moment. I mean, there's so many benefits of a sound bath, something as simple as like helping you sleep better, like you had mentioned earlier. You know, there's just so like lowers your blood pressure, like so many different things. Like, I just think that you knowing that would be something that she needed and gifting that to her is so beautiful. You know, like you want her to feel better. You want her to be better. You want her to connect within and do that healing and give that healing to herself. Like, it's beautiful, selfless, generous. Awesome. I love it.
Well, she's Liza's a classic. That's her jam, right? Right, like that's her jam. So her mind and her body and her soul is already open to the glory of a sound bath.
Yeah.
Whereas I imagine when you go to Amazon, some of them are like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Some of them are going to be like, this is going to be a bit strange and interesting. And others are like, oh, what the fuck have I got to do this for?
Yeah,
it's like when I went to Landmark Forum, and there was a couple of guys in front of me moaning, and I'm like, why are these guys doing it if they're moaning? And they were firefighters who were forced to go there. So of course they were just like, why am I here? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, it's very different. So if someone was struggling for alcohol and they decided to use this sound bath as a way to help with their addiction, the value I see straight away is like learning, like I say, to have that pause and especially to calm their nervous system, because their nervous system is going to be 100 miles an hour. Is there a way that they can access the power of sound without having a sound bath? Because I know there'll be people on this call who'll be like, yeah, I can pay X amount of money with Danica to have a sound bath, but if I'm going to be battling this thing for a long time, like, is there a way that they can have these experiences with practitioners like yourself, but also in their moments of pure stress and anxiety, like I'm going to drink right now, could they use sound and how could they use sound?
That's a great question. So I am very sensitive to everybody's like financial situation. So I've created my Instagram. I have a lot of free sound baths on there. And then I also have a YouTube channel that has a lot of free sound baths on there because I don't ever want money to be a barrier to give somebody the healing of sound baths. And honestly, if somebody called me and was like, I don't have the money, but I really need it. Come on. Like, I don't, I'm not doing this for any other reason but to help people, really. So, yeah, but I think there's also like in our sessions, how we kind of like talk in the beginning and talk in the end. There are a lot of other tools that I could help provide them in those moments that have helped me, that I've learned from my therapist in those moments of trigger. But I really think if somebody can practice that pause, be it with sound or without, and just really give themselves that space to move away from the impulse, like your lack of impulse control, I think like so much beauty and change can happen like in that moment. But like you were kind of saying earlier, there's the awareness of that, and then there's the embodiment of that. And you're going to do it kind of when you kind of first come to understand this concept of practicing the pause. You're going to know you should do it. You're going to understand the concept of it. But I'm 41. There's 41 years of this pattern inside of me. So I also love to say to be gracious with yourself and gentle with yourself, because you're breaking a really long-standing maladaptive pattern that you've picked up throughout your whole life. And so there is that time where it's like you have the awareness of it, but the embodiment of it is not in place. And so when you screw up the first 5-10 times where you don't do a great job of practicing the pause, I just like wish for you that you keep trying until that does become embodied within you. And that's just your normal go-to now. But I understand that it can be discouraging when you're like, why am I doing this still? So just, if you can practice the pause, and in that pause, if you want to look up one of my sound baths to like help to calm your nervous system down, to get you regulated, so you can kind of come from it from not like fight, flight, or freeze, but from a more regulated nervous system, obviously you're going to be making better decisions. So if you can practice the pause, pull up YouTube really quick, take some like really deep, nourishing breaths, and kind of just refocus your mind on like, what would my highest self do in this moment, not my impulsive self. Amazing.
Could practicing musical instruments, singing, humming, like, I mean, I definitely use humming to calm myself down, or just sounds. Similarly, when I access it, when I need a good cry, I'll listen to music. Talk about music in general, because you're doing the sound baths with the bowls. Are there particular tones that are good for healing and tones you should avoid? So I imagine you're not going to stick on some like Marilyn Manson when you're triggered, right? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, like when people kind of don't understand the concept of sound baths or sound healing, I always kind of use that as a very simple, basic reference. Like if you turn on like really dark, heavy metal music, like, and you're really aware of how that makes your body feel, versus when you're like sitting next to the ocean and you're like, the beautiful sounds of the waves are just kind of like crashing in front of you, and how your body feels then. Like, obviously that's going to be a totally different nervous system response to both of those experiences. And the sounds of the bowls are tuned to certain frequencies. So like 432, or so there's frequency of nature, frequency of love. And the bowls that I have are the best bowls that money can buy. And if anyone's thinking about getting into sound healing, I would really consider where you buy your bowls from, because when you're doing energy healing, I believe it's very important that you know, like, oh, these bowls weren't made with child labor in another country. Like, I think it's very important that you kind of have a holistic approach to your whole business. or if you're seeking out a practitioner, if they're aware of certain things, Um, so my bowls are 99.97 pure quartz crystal, and then they're infused with different crystals, gemstones, just different kinds of properties. Like it could be platinum, it could be rose quartz, and platinum is all about the divine feminine energy. Rose quartz is all about unconditional love for yourself and others. So my bowls all have these different frequencies that they play to help regulate your nervous system, but then they're infused with these different. If I was to explain everything that goes into like how magical a sound bath is, like we would never get tidbits that all add up into what makes. And what's great about it is it's a passive form of healing. So you don't have to talk about your problems. Like I love talk therapy, but sometimes you just don't want to talk. Sometimes you can't access like what's going on in your subconscious through your words because you've shoved it down so far. So that giving that some healing, some TLC, some love, some gentleness, some compassion. Amazing.
And what are chakras? So if people are listening at home, what are
Yeah.
chakras?
Sorry, I take that for granted. We have these energy centers throughout our body. One that are kind of like the typical ones. We have more, but the main ones, we have one at the crown, at the top of our head. Our third eye lives in between our eyebrows. Our throat chakra, heart chakra, solar plexus lives right in between your rib cage, and then your sacral chakra is where you house all of your reproductive organs, and then your root chakra is kind of like at the base of your spine. And so each energy center represents a different part of us. So like our third eye is connected to our intuition. So if you're really disconnected, you're not really hearing those like gentle whispers of what God or the universe, whoever you believe in, is kind of trying to help instruct your life. Or if your heart chakra is so shut down or has been so broken, or you have no trust, you can't, you're not that you're not trusting other people, you're not really trusting yourself. So really trying to give all of our chakras this healing to kind of be able to approach the world from a really regulated, healthy place is, what else could anybody want? Like that's what, if we could all approach the world from like a emotionally regulated place, amazing,
If somebody came to you with like addiction problems or alcohol addiction problems, is there a particular chakra that you know of that is more of a problem than any other? Like, is anything like that come out in your work?
Mm, no, I would say, because again, it's like, what is your pain? What is your trauma? Like, like something that just came to mind was, were you like taken away from your family at a young age? Were you adopted? Were you like in your root chakra, like your chakra of like home and security was disrupted at an early age? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you were like have dealt with a lot of like mental abuse, so your crown, your like higher self, like you don't see yourself that way. That's totally shut down. There's so many reasons of why people turn to addiction, that it's all kind of like a case by case basis of what's going on with them.
What about emotion? When you're doing your sound bath, what kind of is there room for emotion? Like if you was in Amazon and there's a load of people, like 20, 30 people or something lying down listening to you, what are the rules there? Like, are they allowed to shout? Are they allowed to scream? Are they allowed to cry? Allowed to howl? Like, what happens with people emotionally when there's sound bath?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it all. I've seen generally like in a private session, the one-on-ones, like people can get a lot more like primal and like howly and like weeping, but like from their gut, like this full body weep. But typically, like in a group session, I'll see people like throughout the sound bath, like wiping their eyes or like having a little tissue. And they'll kind of be like appropriately crying, like in a group setting. Um, but no, a lot of things, a lot of the time people fall asleep because they are just so relaxed, like mind, body, and spirit. And so I jokingly always say in the beginning of a sound bath, like in a group session, like, okay, we are all friends here. If your partner next to you starts to snore, like give them a little tap, because nobody wants to be the person like snoring during a sound bath. But yeah, the most typical emotions that I see during a sound bath are some tears, and I just love to just see like everybody's like really deep breathing, where I know that they're just like fully succumbed to the sound bath, where they're not having any rigidity in their body, they're not holding any tension, they're just fully kind of like splayed open, splayed out. And then when I said earlier, like I can tell that they have left the building, like I can tell that they're really into like the juicy benefits of the sound bath, and then also falling asleep. Those are kind of like the most typical experiences that happen during a sound bath. And afterwards, I always say to people, like, I'll be here. Like, if you want to come tell me, about your experience, especially people that this is their first time, they're like, what was that? A lot of people see shapes. A lot of people see colors. A lot of people feel that they went to outer space and came back. So those are also very, very, very common experiences during a sound bath.
So if somebody wanted to experience your sound baths, or there's a company listening to this that wanted to hire you to go into their company, how could they get hold of you and learn more about your work, Danica?
Yes. So I have my Instagram is kind of like where I'm running everything through and from right now. And it's leora.kirkland. So at LIORA.Kirkland, KIRKLAND. And like I said, that's where you can find a lot of my work. I've been doing this new little series of sound baths for certain emotions. So like I just posted one about grief, because I know during the holiday time, people, like maybe they've suffered loss throughout the year, divorce, separation, whatever it is, the holidays can be a time full of that. So you can always go to my Instagram, and then also I have my YouTube page, which is also leora.kirkland. So if you want longer free sound baths, those are on my YouTube page.
Well, thank you very much for showing up today. Really appreciate you. Guys, go check it out. Sound baths. Two ways. One, you could just go and experience it, because, it's a beautiful experience and you'll love it. But the second thing that I urge you to think about is try to incorporate it as part of your toolkit. So something that you do on a regular basis that really allows you the practice of calming your nervous system. So when you are triggered to drink alcohol, you are more practiced in the pause, because when you're doing 60-minute sound baths, your body will just get attuned to, well, actually, I don't need to drink, or I don't need to be so unsafe here. So, Danica, thanks very much for showing up for the crew today. I really appreciate it, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. You're a wonderful interviewer. Thank you so much.